This was never meant for you.
종료. 영은 됐어.
The door slams hard enough to shake the hairpins on the table. Ada turns with her bouquet in one hand and finds a second bride already walking toward her. Take it off. This was never meant for you. The woman says it in English, so nothing can hide in translation. Two men fill the doorway behind her. One reaches back and locks the door. The woman's veil is still pinned in place. Her lipstick is perfect. She did not come to ruin a wedding, she came to take one. Ada knows her at once. Mun Hae-rin, the woman half of Seoul, expected Kang Seo-jun to marry, the daughter of the man who sent Ada's mother's Lagos address to Korea as a warning. If Ada walks out now, she loses more than a ceremony. She proves every person who called her temporary was right. So she tightens her grip on the flowers and says nothing. Hae-rin takes another step. Her gown rustles against the wooden floor. The hanok room suddenly feels smaller. The candles on the side table flicker from the draft that came in with the men. You think he loves you? Hae-rin tilts her head. He doesn't. He loves the idea of defiance. You are his rebellion. When that feeling fades, you will be nothing but a foreign woman alone, in a country that was never yours. Ada's fingers ache around the stems. She could answer. She has words sharp enough to draw blood. But she learned something a long time ago, watching her mother face relatives who spoke to her like she was small. Silence can be a weapon too. So she waits. Hae-rin's smile tightens. She expected something. A flinch. A tear. A raised voice she could use as proof of instability. She got none of it. Remove her, Hae-rin says to the men behind her. One of them steps forward. Ada does not step back. And then, 9 months earlier, the Haesung Biogroup laboratory is empty at 9:47 p.m. except for Ada. She stands at her station with a pipette in one hand and a timer in the other. The fluorescent lights hum above her. The smell of reagents hangs in the air, sharp and familiar. This is her third time running the same assay. Dr. Park rejected her first two results without reading them. She saw his eyes skim past the data. He signed the rejection form while talking to someone else. So here she is, again, alone. The titration needs 4 more minutes. She watches the solution change color, slow and steady. Outside the window, Seoul glitters. She does not look at it. She hasn't had time to look at anything in months. Her phone buzzes. She glances at the screen. Mama. She sets down the pipette and answers. Ada. Her mother's voice is warm and tired at once. How is the work? Fine, Mama. Long hours. You sound thin. Ada almost laughs. You can hear thin? I can hear my daughter. It is the same thing. A pause. Your uncle called today. Ada's stomach tightens. She already knows what comes next. He says you owe him for the school fees. He says you have a big job now, in Korea, and you should remember who helped you get there. Ada closes her eyes. The school fees. The same ones he brings up every month. The same debt that somehow grows instead of shrinks, no matter how much she sends. How much does he want? 200,000 naira. Ada does the math in her head. It's most of what she has saved this month after the money she already sent for her sister's school supplies. I'll send it, she says. Ada, you don't have to. I know. The words sit between them. Her mother doesn't argue. She knows Ada will send it anyway. She knows her daughter has been the one who holds things together since she was 17 years old, and her father's body was still warm in the ground. Take care of yourself, her mother says, not just everyone else. I will, Mama. She hangs up. She looks at the timer. 2 more minutes. She waits. The lab door opens at 9:52 p.m. Ada does not look up. She assumes it's the night security guard making rounds. But the footsteps are wrong. Too many. Too deliberate. She glances toward the door. 3 men. The one in front wears a dark coat that costs more than her monthly rent. His face is calm, unreadable. He is maybe 30. His eyes move across the lab like he's cataloging everything in it. The two men behind him are broader. They stand like they're used to standing behind someone. You need to leave. The voice comes from one of the men in back. He speaks Korean, flat and dismissive. Now. Ada looks at him, then at the man in front, then back at her titration. I'm in the middle of something, she says. Her Korean is careful, functional. She spent 6 months drilling it before she came here. If I stop now, I lose 6 hours of work. The man in back steps forward. I said, Cho. The man in front speaks quietly. Cho stops. Ada keeps her eyes on the solution. The color is shifting. Almost there. 4 minutes, she says. You can wait. No one answers. She feels their eyes on her. She doesn't care. She has run this assay 3 times. She is not running it a 4th time because some men in expensive coats decided to show up unannounced. The timer beeps. She records the result. She photographs the solution with her phone. She caps the vials and labels them. She saves the data to her tablet. Then she packs her bag. The man in front hasn't moved. He watches her like she's something he didn't expect to find. Ada slings her bag over her shoulder. She's about to walk past all 3 of them when she stops. She doesn't know why. Something in her gut. The stockroom cage, she says. She's looking at the man in front now. It was opened last Thursday. The electronic log says Dr. Yoon swiped in at 11 p.m. He told the department head he wasn't here that night. She pauses. I don't know what you're looking for, but you should start there. She walks past them. One of the men shifts like he might block her. She doesn't slow down. He moves aside. She's at the door when the man in front speaks. His voice is low, unhurried. What's your name? She could ignore it. She probably should. Okafor, she says without turning around. Adaweze Okafor. She leaves. Seo-jun watches her go. Cho is already on his phone, checking the log she mentioned. It takes less than a minute. She's right, Cho says. Yoon's badge, 11:14 p.m. He told Park he was in Busan that night. Seo-jun doesn't respond immediately. He's still looking at the door. Who is she? He asks. Cho shrugs. Nobody. A foreign researcher. Nigerian, I think. One of the fellowship people. Seo-jun nods slowly. Nobody. A foreign researcher. A woman who didn't flinch when 3 men walked into her workspace unannounced. Who finished her work before acknowledging them. Who gave him better intelligence in 10 seconds than his own people gathered in a week. Find out more about her, he says. Cho raises an eyebrow but doesn't argue. 2 weeks later, Ada is walking home from the convenience store below her building. It's 10 p.m. The streets of Mapo-gu are quiet. She carries a plastic bag with ramyeon and a single apple. This is dinner. This has been dinner most nights this month. She hears them before she sees them. 2 men, drunk, loud, speaking Korean too fast for her to catch everything, but she catches enough. She catches the laughter. They step into her path. Ya, one of them grins. His breath smells like soju. Where are you from? Ada tries to walk around them. The other one blocks her. Your hair. He reaches toward her. She steps back. Can I touch it? No. Ah, she speaks Korean. He looks delighted. Say something else. Say something cute. Move. They laugh. The first one grabs her wrist. Ada's heart pounds, but her voice stays flat. Let go. Or what? He squeezes tighter. You'll call the police? You think they care about... A car door opens behind them. Ada doesn't see who gets out, but she sees the men's faces change. The drunk bravado drains out like water. Footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. A hand appears, wraps around the man's wrist, and removes it from Ada's arm in one motion. Not violent, just precise, like correcting a mistake. The man stumbles back. Ada looks up. It's him, the man from the lab. Dark coat, calm face. Eyes that give away nothing. He says 3 words in Korean. She doesn't catch all of them, but she catches the tone. It's the voice of a man who doesn't need to raise it. The 2 men leave. They don't walk. They run. Ada and the stranger stand on the empty street. She can hear her own breathing. "You again," she says. Something shifts in his expression. Almost a smile. Almost. "You again," he says. He offers her a ride. She refuses. "Then I'll wait," he says, "until you're inside." "You don't need to do that." "I know." The words land strange in her chest. She said the same thing to her mother, about the money, about all the things she does that no one asks her to do. She walks to her building. She doesn't look back. But she feels him there, waiting. She gets to the door. She unlocks it. She steps inside. Only then does she hear the car pull away. If you're wondering how a woman ends up in a bridal room with a stranger trying to take her place, this is where it starts. Not with a grand gesture, not with a confession, with a man who waits on a dark street until she gets inside safe. Stay with me. The next morning, Ada arrives at her lab station and stops. There's a package, small, wrapped in brown paper, no note, no name. She opens it. Inside is a plastic container. She lifts the lid, and the smell hits her instantly. Chin chin. The sweet fried dough her mother made every Sunday when Ada was a child. The smell of Lagos kitchens and homecomings and things she thought she left behind. She stares at it for a long moment. She doesn't know how he found it. She doesn't know how he knew. A West African grocery in Itaewon, maybe. Someone who did research. Someone who paid attention. She holds the container and doesn't open it. Because if she eats it, she's accepting something. She's letting this man, whoever he is, into a part of her life she keeps guarded. Her fingers tighten around the plastic. She thinks about the street, about his voice saying, "I know." Like he understood something she never explained. She thinks about her empty apartment, about the money she sent this morning, about the uncle who takes, and the sister who never says thank you, and the mother who worries from 6,000 miles away. She thinks about what it would feel like to be known by someone who asks nothing in return. The container stays closed on her desk, but she doesn't throw it away. 3 weeks after the chin chin appears on her desk, Ada still hasn't mentioned it. She hasn't thrown it away either. The empty container sits in her apartment on the shelf above the sink, washed and dried, next to the single mug she drinks her morning tea from. She doesn't know why she kept it. She tells herself it's because the container is useful. She's lying. Seo-jun starts appearing in her orbit the way weather changes, gradually, then all at once. The first time, she spots him in the lobby of the Haesung building. He's there for a meeting with the distribution division. Legitimate business. He nods at her across the atrium. She nods back. Neither of them stops walking. The second time, his car is parked near the corner store below her apartment. She sees Cho leaning against the hood, smoking. She walks past. Cho says nothing. She says nothing. The third time, Seo-jun is standing outside the Haesung cafeteria when she comes down for lunch. He falls into step beside her like this is normal. "You eat here every day?" he asks. "The bibimbap is cheap." "That's not what I asked." She looks at him. "Yes, I eat here every day." "Alone? Are you asking or judging?" "Asking." She sits at her usual table. He sits across from her. Cho takes a table by the door and pretends to read his phone. Ada eats. Seo-jun doesn't order anything. He watches her the way he watched her in the lab, like she's a problem he hasn't solved yet. "Why are you here?" she says finally. "I had a meeting. The meeting ended an hour ago." "I checked the lobby sign-in board." He almost smiles. She's seen the almost smile twice now. It never fully arrives. "You're careful," he says. "I'm Nigerian. Careful is how we stay alive in places that aren't ours." The sentence lands between them. He doesn't flinch from it. He doesn't rush to fill the silence with reassurance. He just nods, like he understands being careful in a world that would eat you if you weren't. "I wanted to see you," he says. Simple. No decoration. Ada sets her spoon down. Why? I don't know yet. She should tell him to stop coming. She should tell him she's here on a fellowship with an expiration date, that she sends half her money home, that she doesn't have room in her life for whatever this is. Instead, she picks up her spoon and says, "The bibimbap is better with extra gochujang," You should try it next time. He comes back the next day. He orders the bibimbap, extra gochujang. The phone calls start the following week. The first one is an accident. She texts him a question about a delivery she saw flagged in Hae-sung's pharmaceutical log, something that looked irregular. She expects a text back. He calls instead. You could have just typed it, she says. I don't like typing. You run an organization. You must type constantly. That's why I don't like it. She laughs before she can stop herself. She hears the pause on his end, like he's holding the sound of it. The call lasts 11 minutes. She tells him about the irregular delivery. He tells her he'll look into it. Then neither of them hangs up. They sit in the silence like it's a room they've both walked into, and neither wants to leave. Good night, Okafor, he says. Good night, Mr. Kang. Seo-jun. She pauses. Using his given name changes something. She knows it. He knows it. Good night, Seo-jun. The second call is 2 days later. 11 p.m. He asks her what she's working on. She explains the pharmaceutical research, a new synthesis pathway for a tuberculosis compound that could cut production costs by 60%. She talks for 40 minutes. He listens. You understand any of that? She asks. No, he says, but I understood that it matters to you. She closes her eyes. No one has ever said that to her. Not her uncle, who sees her work as a debt repayment. Not Dr. Park, who sees her as an inconvenience. Not her sister, who sees her as a bank. Someone listened for 40 minutes to a thing he didn't understand because it mattered to her. She holds the phone tighter and says nothing. He lets the silence stay. 2 weeks later, they walk along the Han River at night. It's cold. Ada wears her only winter coat, a black puffer she bought secondhand in Itaewon. Seo-jun wears his usual dark coat. Cho follows 30 meters behind, a shadow with a cigarette. They walk slowly. The river is black and wide. The city reflects off it in broken lines. My father had his stroke at the dinner table, Seo-jun says. He's not looking at her. He's looking at the water. We were eating. He dropped his chopsticks. Then he dropped. A pause. I caught him before he hit the floor. I was 28. Ada doesn't say sorry. He hasn't asked for pity. Who ran things after? I did. There was no one else. My brother is 23 and not built for it. My mother holds the household, not the organization. Do you want to run it? He's quiet for a long time. No, he says, but I'm the eldest son. Ada's chest tightens. She knows that sentence. She has lived inside that sentence since she was 17. The eldest. The one who stays. The one who carries because no one else will. I understand, she says. He looks at her, not at the water, at her. I know you do, he says. That's why I'm telling you. The fellowship starts to crack 3 days later. Ada arrives at her station and finds a formal notice in her inbox. Written warning. Dr. Park has filed a complaint citing protocol violations in laboratory procedure. The violations are specific. Unauthorized after-hours access, improper documentation of reagent usage, failure to submit assay data through proper departmental channels. Ada reads it twice. Her hands shake, not from fear, from rage. Every item on the list is a lie. She documents everything. She photographs every result. She follows protocol so carefully it slows her down. She does this because she knows she cannot afford a mistake. She has always known that. A Nigerian woman on a fellowship in Seoul does not get the luxury of being sloppy. She goes to Dr. Park's office. He's sitting behind his desk, sipping tea. I received your complaint, she says. Her Korean is steady. I'd like to discuss the specific violations. Dr. Park doesn't look up. There's nothing to discuss. The complaint is filed. The after-hours access was approved by Dr. Lim last month. I have the email. Dr. Lim is not your supervisor. I am. The reagent documentation is complete. I can show you the logs. The logs have been reviewed. By whom? Now he looks up. His expression is flat. Patient. The patience of a man who has already decided the outcome. Miss Okafor, your visa renewal is under review by HR. I suggest you focus on that rather than arguing about paperwork. Ada's blood goes cold. The visa. He's touching the visa. She stands in his office and feels the floor tilt beneath her. Not because she's weak, because she understands exactly what's happening. She tipped off the wrong people about Dr. Yoon, and Dr. Park was in on it. The stolen compounds, the late-night access. Park was taking a cut. She disrupted his income. Now he's dismantling hers. She walks out of his office. She doesn't slam the door. She closes it softly. Her mother taught her that. When they insult you, you close the door softly. Let them wonder what you're planning. She doesn't tell Seo-jun. She sits in her apartment that night staring at the wall, and she does not pick up her phone, because she knows what will happen if she tells him. He will fix it. He has the power to fix it, and she will become the woman who needed a man to solve her problem. She has been solving her own problems since she was 17. She's not going to stop now. But Seo-jun finds out anyway. His people still monitor Haesung. The pharmaceutical distribution pipeline runs through the same building where Ada works. When a formal HR complaint is filed against a researcher whose name is already in Seo-jun's system, the report surfaces within 48 hours. He reads it in his office at midnight. Cho is there. Seo-jun sets the report down. His face doesn't change, but his hand on the desk curls into a fist. Park filed this? He asks. Yesterday. He's retaliating. Looks like it. Seo-jun stares at the report. He could end Park tonight. A phone call. A piece of leverage. The man was stealing controlled compounds from his own lab. Seo-jun has the evidence. But Ada didn't come to him. She sat in her apartment and didn't call. He knows why. He knows exactly why. And if he acts without her knowledge, he takes something from her that he can't give back. He sets the report aside. Not yet, he says. Cho frowns. She could lose her visa. I know. Then why? Because she hasn't asked. Cho stares at him. In 12 years of working for the Kang family, he has never seen Seo-jun hesitate. Not once. He's hesitating now. A week passes. Ada fights the complaint through official channels. She submits her documentation. She emails HR directly. She requests a meeting with the department review board. Every door she knocks on opens slowly and leads to another door. She is exhausted. She's working 12-hour days in the lab and spending her evenings drafting appeals. Seo-jun calls her. She picks up on the fourth ring. You sound tired, he says. I'm fine. You're not fine. You sound like you haven't slept. Are you going to tell me what I sound like, or are you going to let me talk? He goes quiet. She hears him breathing. Talk, he says. So she does. It comes out in pieces. Not clean. Not organized. Dr. Park. The complaint. The visa flag. The documentation she submitted that no one has reviewed. The meetings that keep getting rescheduled. The feeling of walls closing in on every side while she stands in the center, holding papers that prove she did nothing wrong. She doesn't cry, but her voice cracks once, on the word. Visa. Because without the visa, there is no fellowship. Without the fellowship, there is no reason to be in Korea. Without Korea, there is no him. She doesn't say that last part. She doesn't need to. Tell me what you want me to do, he says. Nothing. Ada, I mean it. I mean it. This is my fight. And if they take your visa, then I go home. The silence is heavy. I'm not going to watch them do this to you, he says. His voice is low and certain, and it makes her chest hurt. You don't get to decide that, she says. This is mine. She hangs up. She sits on her floor and presses her palms against her eyes. She knows she's being stubborn. She knows he could make this disappear. But if he fights this for her, then every result she publishes, every day she spends in that lab, will carry an asterisk. She got to stay because a powerful man intervened. She can't live inside that sentence. 3 more days pass. HR schedules her visa review. The tone of the email is clinical and final. She reads it on her phone while standing in the lab, and for the first time in months, she thinks about packing. That night, Seo-jun comes to her apartment. She opens the door and he's standing there with a folder in his hand. Cho is not with him. He's alone. Before you say anything, he says, I didn't do this for you. I did it for Hae-sung. He holds out the folder. She takes it. She opens it. Inside is the evidence. Dr. Yoon's access logs, the compound records, financial transfers linking Dr. Park to the sale of stolen materials, dates, amounts, account numbers. This was already in our files, Seo-jun says. From the night we came to the lab, your tip led to all of it. Park wasn't just looking the other way. He was taking 30%. Ada stares at the documents. I didn't bring this to you, Seo-jun says. I brought it to the Hae-sung CEO this morning, as a matter of distribution security. It's a business issue. Your name isn't in it. She looks up at him. Park was terminated at 4 o'clock today, he says. Your fellowship has been reinstated. HR will send formal confirmation tomorrow. You'll receive an apology from the department. Ada holds the folder. Her hands are steady. Her eyes are not. You said you wouldn't intervene. I didn't intervene for you. I intervened for my supply chain. Park was a liability. He pauses. The fact that it helps you is a side effect. She almost smiles. Almost. A side effect, she repeats. A fortunate one. She steps back from the door. He walks in. Her apartment is small enough that his presence fills it entirely. He stands by the counter and looks at the shelf above the sink. He sees the empty chin-chin container, washed and kept. He doesn't mention it, but she sees him see it, and she sees something change in his face. Something that wasn't there before. Something that looks like a man realizing he's already in deeper than he planned. She heats leftover jollof rice on her single-burner stove. She puts it in front of him. He eats every grain. If I asked you to stay in Korea, he says, would you? She stops moving. The spoon is still in her hand. You haven't asked, she says. And I can't stay. My fellowship. Your fellowship is secure. Because of you. Because of the evidence. She sets the spoon down. She looks at him and sees something she recognizes. The same weight she carries. The eldest. The one who holds things together. The one who stays because no one else will. What are you? She asks. He doesn't pretend to misunderstand. He tells her. All of it. The Kang family. The ports. The security contracts. The distribution networks. The gray areas where business becomes something else. His father's stroke. The men who follow him. The men who would stop following him if he showed weakness. He doesn't soften it. He doesn't romanticize it. He says it the way he says everything. Low, direct. Like he's handing her a loaded weapon and trusting her not to use it against him. This is what I am, he says. If you walk away, I'll understand. Ada looks at him across her tiny kitchen table. The fluorescent light buzzes. The jollof pot is still warm on the stove. Outside, Seoul hums and glitters and doesn't care about either of them. She thinks about her mother's voice on the phone. She thinks about the uncle who takes and takes. She thinks about Dr. Park's face when he told her to focus on her visa instead of arguing. She thinks about a man who waited on a dark street until she got inside safe, who sent her chin-chin without a note, who dismantled her enemy without putting her name in the file. I need to think, she says. He nods. He stands. He walks to the door. She doesn't stop him. He steps into the hallway. She closes the door. He stands on the other side of it. She stands on hers. Neither of them moves for a long time. Ada doesn't sleep that night. She lies on her narrow bed and stares at the ceiling and replays every word. The ports, the security contracts, the gray areas, the way he said, "This is what I am." Like he was handing her a knife and waiting to see if she'd cut him with it. She gets up at 5 a.m., she makes tea, she sits by the window and watches Seoul wake up. The Ajuma at the corner store rolls up her metal gate. A delivery truck rumbles past. The city doesn't care what Ada decides. It will keep moving either way. Her phone buzzes. A message from her mother. Your uncle called again. I told him you already sent money this month. He says it's not enough. Don't let him bully you, Ada. You've given enough. Ada reads it twice. Then she puts the phone face down and drinks her tea. She has spent 8 years giving enough. Giving more than enough. Giving until there's nothing left, and then finding more to give. Her father died and she became the pillar. Her mother leaned on her. Her siblings leaned on her. Her uncle took and called it gratitude. No one ever asked what she needed. No one ever waited on a dark street to make sure she got home safe. Until now. She goes to the lab. She goes to the lab. She works. The confirmation email from HR arrives at 10:47 a.m., exactly as Seo-jun said it would. Formal apology. Fellowship reinstated. No mention of Dr. Park's termination, but she hears about it from one of the lab technicians by noon. Did you hear? Park is gone. Something about financial misconduct. Ada nods and says nothing. She keeps her face neutral. She finishes her assay and logs her data and eats lunch alone in the cafeteria. She doesn't text Seo-jun. She doesn't know what to say yet. 2 days pass. On the third day, Ada's phone rings at 9 p.m. She looks at the screen. His name. She picks up. You haven't called, he says. I've been thinking. For 3 days? Some decisions take longer than 3 days. He's quiet. She hears him breathing. She can picture him in whatever room he's in. Dark coat, calm face, waiting like he always waits. I'm not asking you to decide tonight, he says. I'm asking if you're still thinking, or if you've already decided, and you're just not telling me. Ada closes her eyes. I'm still thinking. Good. Good? If you'd already decided to leave, you wouldn't have answered the phone. She almost laughs. Almost. You're very confident for a man who just told a woman he runs a criminal organization. I told you the truth. Confidence has nothing to do with it. The line goes quiet. She listens to the static. She thinks about the folder he brought her, the way he dismantled her enemy without putting her name in the file, the way he ate every grain of her jollof rice like it was the best thing he'd tasted in years. Seo-jun. Yes? Why me? He doesn't answer immediately. She can feel him thinking, choosing his words. The night I came to the lab, he says, you were the only person in the building. You were running an assay. You'd already run twice because your supervisor rejected it without reading it. When my men told you to leave, you said no. You finished your work. Then you gave me information I didn't ask for because you noticed something no one else noticed. He pauses. Everyone I know wants something from me. Power, money, protection. You didn't even know who I was. You just saw a man standing in your workspace, and you told him to wait 4 minutes. Ada is silent. I've been looking for someone like you my whole life, he says. I didn't know it until I found you. She holds the phone so tight her knuckles ache. I need more time, she says. Take it. He hangs up. The next morning, across the city, Seo-jun sits at his mother's table for a family dinner he did not want to attend. The dining room is traditional. Low table, silk cushions, lacquered dishes arranged with precision. His mother, Madam Kang, sits at the head. His younger brother Jun-ho is to her left, scrolling through his phone beneath the table. Seo-jun is to her right. And directly across from him sits Mun Hye-rin. She wears a cream-colored hanbok with gold embroidery. Her hair is pinned back, her makeup is soft and deliberate. She looks like a woman who has been preparing for this dinner her entire life. She has been. Seo-jun eats in silence. His mother speaks to Hye-rin about wedding traditions, seasonal flowers, venue options, guest lists. She speaks as if the wedding is already scheduled, as if the bride has already been chosen. Seo-jun sets his chopsticks down. Mother. Madam Kang pauses. She looks at him with the particular expression she reserves for sons who interrupt her. We haven't discussed dates yet, he says. Perhaps this conversation is premature. Premature? His mother's eyebrows rise. You're 30 years old? Your father assumed leadership at 26 with a wife and a son on the way. You have neither. I have the organization. The organization needs stability. Stability comes from alliances. Alliances are sealed by blood and marriage. She gestures toward Hye-rin. The Mun family has been patient. I've been patient. It's time we set a date. Seo-jun looks at Hae-rin. She meets his gaze calmly. She doesn't flinch. She doesn't smile. She waits like a woman who knows the outcome is already decided. He says nothing. His silence is loud enough to fill the room. After the dinner, Hae-rin finds him in the courtyard. He's standing by the stone lantern, looking at the garden his father planted 30 years ago, the same garden where his father collapsed. I know you don't love me, Hae-rin says. Seo-jun doesn't turn around. I don't need you to. She steps closer. Her voice is calm, intelligent, direct. This marriage keeps people alive, yours and mine. Your organization and my father's have been circling each other for 15 years. War would cost both sides more than either can afford. You sound like your father. I learned from him. Seo-jun turns. He looks at her in the lantern light. She's beautiful. She's composed. She's saying things that are strategically correct. He feels nothing. And if I refuse, he asks. Something flickers in her eyes. Fear, quickly buried. Then my father will see it as a betrayal, and he'll respond accordingly. Seo-jun studies her face. He sees the calculation. He also sees something beneath it, something she's trying to hide. Desperation. She needs this marriage. Not because she loves him, because without it she has nothing. I haven't refused, he says. I haven't agreed either. How long are you going to wait? He doesn't answer. He walks past her, back into the house. That night, Madame Kang invites Hae-rin to her private sitting room for tea. It's a ritual. Two women talking about the future while the men pretend the men are in charge. Madame Kang pours the tea herself. She learned long ago that servants hear too much. My son is difficult, she says. He has always been difficult. His father was easier to manage. Hae-rin accepts her cup. I'm patient. Patience is good. But you should know, there is a complication. Hae-rin's hand stills. A woman, Madame Kang continues. African. A researcher at Haesung. He's been spending time with her. Hae-rin's expression doesn't change, but her fingers tighten around the cup. For how long? A few months. It's nothing serious. These things happen when men feel pressured. He'll lose interest. You're certain? Madame Kang sips her tea. She has no family here, no connections, no future with him. The organization would never accept her. The men would question his judgment. She's a distraction, nothing more. Don't worry. Hae-rin nods slowly. Thank you for telling me. I tell you because you should be prepared, not because you should act. Let it pass. When the wedding happens, she'll disappear on her own. Hae-rin sets her cup down. Of course. But her eyes are already calculating. 3 days later, Ada's photo appears on a Korean tabloid blog. The headline reads, Kang Hae's foreign plaything. Who is the African woman seen with Seoul's most eligible underboss? The post includes her name, her workplace, her visa status, a photo taken outside her apartment building in Mapo-gu. The angle suggests a long lens. Someone was watching. Someone was waiting. The comments section fills within hours. Ada doesn't read Korean well enough to catch everything, but she catches enough. Foreigner trying to steal our men. Go back to your country. Kang family has no standards. She's probably after his money. Look at her hair. Disgusting. Ada stares at her phone screen in the lab bathroom. Her hands shake. Not from fear, from something worse. The feeling of being seen and being hated for existing. She locks herself in a stall. She breathes. She counts to 10, in Igbo, the way her mother taught her when she was young and the world was too loud. She does not cry. She calls her mother. Ada. Her mother's voice is warm and immediate. What's wrong? Nothing, Mama. I just wanted to hear your voice. Ada. I know your nothing voice. This is not it. So Ada tells her. Not everything. Enough. A man. Powerful. Complicated. People who don't want her near him. Photos on the internet. Things being said about her. Her mother is quiet for a long moment. Come home, Ada. Her voice is heavy. That place will eat you. Ada closes her eyes. She wants to say yes. She almost does. I don't know, Mama. You've given enough to other people's countries. Come home. Marry a good Igbo man. Have children. Be happy. Am I not allowed to be happy here? Are you happy there? The question sits in Ada's chest like a stone. I don't know, she says again. Then come home. Figure it out from a place that loves you. Seo-jun finds out about the leak 2 hours after it's posted. He's in a meeting with his port logistics team when Cho interrupts. One look at Cho's face tells him something is wrong. He steps out. Cho shows him his phone. Seo-jun reads the headline. He scrolls through the comments. His expression doesn't change, but Cho has known him for 12 years. He sees the stillness, the particular kind of stillness that comes before violence. Who? Seo-jun asks, still tracing it. The photo angle suggests someone in her neighborhood. Could be freelance, could be hired. Find out. And when I do. Seo-jun looks at the screen, at the photo of Ada walking home alone. At the comments calling her disgusting. Then we'll have a conversation. He doesn't call her. He goes to her. Her apartment door opens, and she's standing there with red eyes she's trying to hide. She's not crying now, but she was. Recently. I saw it, he says. I figured. Can I come in? She steps aside. He walks in. The apartment feels smaller than before. The air is heavy. You didn't tell me, he says. I found out 3 hours ago. You could have called. And said what? That your country is calling me disgusting on the internet? She laughs, but it's hollow. I've been called worse. I'll survive. You shouldn't have to survive this. I've been surviving things my whole life. This is just one more. He watches her. She's standing by the window with her arms crossed. The same posture she had in the lab the first night he saw her. Contained, controlled, refusing to break. I'm going to find out who did this, he says. I know. And I'm going to make sure it doesn't happen again. I know that too. She turns to face him. Her eyes are dry now. But something in them is different. Tired. Not of him, of everything else. My mother wants me to come home, she says. His chest tightens. What do you want? I don't know. She pauses. I want to not be someone's target. I want to walk down the street without wondering who's taking my picture. I want to matter to someone without it becoming a weapon. You matter to me. I know. That's the problem. He steps closer. She doesn't step back. If you want to go home, he says, I'll book your flight myself. Business class. I won't stop you. That's not. But if you stay, he continues, I'm not going to pretend this is simple. It isn't. My world is dangerous. The people in it will try to hurt you to get to me. I can protect you. I will protect you, but I can't make it easy. Ada looks at him, this man who runs ports and security contracts in gray areas she doesn't fully understand. This man who waited on a dark street, who sent her chin-chin without a note, who dismantled her enemy without asking for credit. I need to go home, she says. His face doesn't change, but she sees something flicker, something that looks like a wound opening. Lagos, she says quickly. Not forever. I need to see my mother. I need to think somewhere that isn't here. He nods slowly. How long? 2 weeks. Maybe 3? I'll arrange it. I can buy my own ticket. I know. He pauses. Let me do this. She's too tired to argue. She nods. He books the flight that night. Business class. She doesn't argue about that either. The day before she leaves, Cho traces the leak. The photographer was freelance. The payment came from an account linked to a shell company. The shell company traces back to a law firm that handles domestic matters for one specific family, the Mun family. Cho brings the information to Seo-jun in his office. It's late, the city is dark. Hire in? Seo-jun asks. Or someone close to her. The payment cleared 3 days after the madam's tea with her. Seo-jun sits back. His mother told Hye-rin about Ada. And within 72 hours, Ada's photo was on the internet. He thinks about Hye-rin's face in the courtyard. The calculation in her eyes, the desperation beneath it. She's not acting out of love, she's acting out of survival. But that doesn't make her less dangerous. It makes her more. What do you want to do? Cho asks. Nothing, yet. And the woman? Seo-jun looks at the window. At the city he's spent his whole life protecting and being trapped by. She's going home, he says. Let her go. When she comes back, if she comes back, we'll be ready. Ada lands in Lagos on a Thursday afternoon. The heat hits her the moment she steps off the plane. Thick, familiar. The smell of fuel and earth and bodies pressed together. She breathes it in, and something in her chest unclenches. Her mother meets her at arrivals. She's smaller than Ada remembers. Older. She holds Ada for a long time without speaking. You're thin, her mother finally says. You always say that. Because it's always true. They take a taxi to the family house in Seoul. Ada's youngest sister, Chisum, is there, and her brother Emeka. They eat jollof rice and fried plantain, and talk about nothing important. The television plays Nollywood reruns in the background. The fan creaks overhead. It feels like coming home. It also feels like stepping backward. On her third night, Ada sits with her mother on the veranda after dinner. The air is warm and thick. Somewhere down the street, someone is playing music. Tell me about this man, her mother says. Ada has told her almost nothing. She mentioned a businessman, someone important, someone who wants to marry her. His name is Seo-jun, Ada says. He runs a family organization, security, logistics, some things that aren't legal. Her mother is quiet. He's powerful, Ada continues. He's protected me, but being with him means being a target. People have already tried to hurt me to get to him. And you love him? Ada watches the darkness. I think I could, if I let myself. Then why are you here instead of there? Because I needed to ask you something. Her mother turns to look at her. Her eyes are steady and deep. When you married Baba, Ada says, did you know it would be hard? Of course I knew. How did you decide to do it anyway? Her mother is quiet for a long moment. The music down the street fades and starts again. Your father was not an easy man, she says finally. He was proud. He was stubborn. He made me angry more days than he made me laugh. But when he looked at me, Ada, when he really looked, I knew he saw me. Not what I could do for him, not what I represented. Me. She reaches over and takes Ada's hand. Does this man see you, she asks. Not just look, does he? See you? Ada thinks about the lab, the dark street, the chin-chin without a note, the way he listened to her talk about pharmaceutical synthesis for 40 minutes because it mattered to her. Yes, she says. He's the first person who ever has. Her mother squeezes her hand. Then go back. And stop running from the thing you're afraid to have. Ada flies back to Seoul on a Tuesday. The plane descends through gray clouds and she watches the city emerge below, the Han River cutting through it like a scar, the buildings clustered tight, the mountains rising at the edges. It looks different now. Not foreign, not home, something in between. She didn't tell Seo-jun which flight she was taking. She didn't tell him she was coming back at all. She needs to see him first. She needs to say it in person. She takes the airport bus to Seoul Station and then the subway to Mapo-gu. Her apartment smells stale when she opens the door. She drops her bag, opens the window, and stands there breathing the cold air. Her phone buzzes, a message from her mother. You've landed? Yes, Mama. I'm home. She stares at the word after she sends it. Home. She called Seoul home. She doesn't call Seo-jun that night. She showers. She eats instant ramyeon because her refrigerator is empty. She lies on her bed and stares at the ceiling and thinks about her mother's question. Does he see you? Yes, he sees her. The question is whether she's ready to be seen. The next morning, she goes to the Haesung building. She's not scheduled to work today, but she goes anyway. She needs normal. She needs the lab and the assays and the smell of reagents. She needs to remember who she was before any of this started. She's at her station for 2 hours before her phone rings, his name on the screen. She picks up. You're back, he says. How did you know? Cho saw you enter Haesung 20 minutes ago. Of course. He's been watching the building, watching for her. Can we meet? She asks. When? Tonight. My apartment. I'll be there. He hangs up. She stares at the phone. Her heart is beating too fast. He arrives at 8 p.m. She opens the door, and he's standing there in his dark coat, looking at her like he's been holding his breath for 2 weeks and just now remembered how to exhale. You came back? He says. I came back? She steps aside. He walks in. The apartment feels different with him in it, smaller and larger at the same time. She doesn't offer tea. She doesn't make small talk. She stands by the window and he stands by the door, and the space between them is full of everything they haven't said. I talked to my mother, she says. He waits. She asked me if you see me. Not look, see. What did you tell her? I told her yes. Something shifts in his face. The almost smile that never fully arrives is closer than she's ever seen it. She told me to stop running, Ada continues, from the thing I'm afraid to have. And what is that? Ada looks at him. This man who runs an organization that operates in gray areas she'll never fully understand. This man who waited on a dark street, who sent her chin-chin, who dismantled her enemy without asking for credit. You, she says, this. Being chosen by someone when it costs them something. He crosses the room. He stops in front of her, close enough that she can see the pulse in his throat. It's going to cost me more than something, he says. I'm going to break the alliance with the Mun family. Formally, publicly, there will be consequences. I know. They'll come for you. They'll try to use you against me. I know that too. And you're still staying? She reaches up and puts her hand on his chest. She feels his heart beating under her palm. Steady, fast. I'm still staying. He doesn't kiss her. Not yet. He puts his hand over hers and holds it there. Two people standing in a tiny apartment, choosing each other, knowing what it will cost. It's enough for now. 3 days later, Seo-jun breaks the alliance. He does it in a conference room in a neutral building in Gangnam. Both families' senior members are present. The Kang side, Seo-jun, Cho, and 2 of his district captains. The Mun side, Mun Jae-won, his underboss, and 3 men whose faces Ada has never seen. Hai-rin is not there. This is business. She's not considered business. Seo-jun speaks first. I'm formally withdrawing from the understanding between our families regarding a marriage alliance. The room goes silent. Mun Jae-won is a heavy man with gray hair and a face that reveals nothing. He sits at the head of the table like a man who's been sitting at heads of tables his entire life. Withdrawing, he repeats. I'm informing you as a courtesy. The decision is final. And the woman? Is not your concern. Mun Jae-won's eyes narrow. She became my concern when you chose her over my daughter. I chose my own life. If your daughter's future depends on my compliance, that's a problem you created, not me. The silence stretches. Cho's hand moves slightly closer to his hip. You understand what this means, Mun Jae-won says. I understand you have a choice. Accept my decision, and we maintain a working relationship. Or don't. And if I don't, Seo-jun doesn't blink. Then we'll see what happens. Mun Jae-won stands. His men stand with him. You've chosen war, he says. I've chosen peace. You're the one who decides if it stays that way. Mun Jae-won walks out. His men follow. The door closes behind them. Cho exhales. That went well. Seo-jun doesn't smile. That was the easy part. The retaliation starts within a week. First, 2 of Seo-jun's port contracts are blocked. Shipping companies that have worked with the Kang family for years suddenly cite regulatory concerns. The timing is not a coincidence. Then, 3 of his district captains defect. They don't announce it. They simply stop answering calls. When Cho tracks them down, they're already working with Mun operations on the other side of the city. They were bought, Cho says. Double their salary. Who? Kim, Park, and Yoon, the ones who manage the Incheon routes. Seo-jun processes this. The Incheon routes are important, not critical, but important. Can we replace them? Yes, it'll take time. Then do it. But the worst message comes on a Friday afternoon. It arrives by courier to Seo-jun's office. A single sheet of paper in a plain envelope. No words, just an address. Ada's mother's address in Lagos. Seo-jun stares at it for a long moment. His hand curls into a fist. Cho. Yes? I need security in Lagos. Tonight. He doesn't tell Ada about the message. He tells her about the blocked contracts. He tells her about the defections. He tells her the Mun family is retaliating, and it's going to get worse before it gets better. He doesn't tell her they know where her mother sleeps. Because if he tells her that, she'll want to go back. She'll want to protect her family herself, and he can't let her do that. Not now, not when they're watching. So he keeps the secret, and it sits in his chest like a stone. Hae-rin receives the news of the broken alliance from her father. He calls her into his study. He's standing by the window. He doesn't look at her when she enters. It's done, he says. He refused. Hae-rin feels the floor tilt. She knew it was coming. She saw it in Seo-jun's eyes at the dinner. But knowing and hearing are different things. What happens now? Now we make him regret it. How? Her father turns. His eyes are cold. The woman. She's the key. Remove her, and he has nothing to fight for. Remove her how? That's not your concern. Hae-rin stiffens. You said I would handle the marriage. You said this was my responsibility. And you failed. The words hit her like a slap. She stands in her father's study and feels everything she's built crumbling around her. I can still fix it, she says. How? Her mind races. The leak didn't work. The tabloid post didn't drive the woman away. She needs something bigger. Something that makes Seo-jun question everything he thinks he knows about Ada. Give me 1 week, she says. I have an idea. Her father studies her. For a moment, she thinks he'll refuse. Then he nods. 1 week. Don't disappoint me again. The fabricated evidence arrives in Madame Kang's hands 3 days later. It comes in a folder. Bank transfers showing money moving from Ada's account to a man in Lagos. A man identified as her boyfriend. Messages extracted from a cloned phone, or so the documents claim, showing Ada discussing her plan to secure Korean residency through marriage. Timestamps. Screenshots. Everything a suspicious mother would need to confirm her worst fears. Madame Kang reviews the folder in her sitting room. Her face is pale. She didn't want to believe Hae-rin. The girl is desperate, and desperate people lie, but the documents look real. The bank transfers have account numbers. The messages have dates. She calls her son. Seo-jun arrives at his mother's house that evening. She's waiting in the sitting room. The folder is on the table in front of her. Sit, she says. He sits. I've received some information about your woman. From whom? Does it matter? Yes. Madame Kang slides the folder across the table. Seo-jun opens it. He reads the first document, then the second. His face doesn't change. This is fabricated, he says. How do you know? Because the bank account numbers don't match Ada's actual account. I've seen her accounts. She sends money to her mother, not to a boyfriend. And she doesn't have a boyfriend, mother. I would know. Madame Kang is silent. Also, Seo-jun continues, these messages reference conversations that supposedly happened during the 2 weeks she was in Lagos. I spoke to her twice during that time. She was with her mother and sister. She wasn't texting a secret boyfriend. He closes the folder. He looks at his mother. You chose to believe this, he says, because it was easier than accepting my choice. Madame Kang's face flickers, something underneath the composure. I'm trying to protect you. No, you're trying to control me. There's a difference. He stands. Hae-rin sent this, or someone working for her. She's been behind everything. The tabloid leak, the photos, now this. She's desperate because her father treats her like a bargaining chip, and I understand that. But I won't sacrifice Ada to make Hae-rin's life easier. He walks to the door. Then he stops. You need to decide, mother, whether you're going to be part of my life as I'm choosing to live it, or whether you're going to keep trying to make me live yours. He leaves. Madame Kang sits in the quiet room. The folder is still open on the table. She looks at the fabricated documents and sees them for what they are. She thinks about her son's face. The certainty in his voice. She thinks about the woman in the photos, the one with the dark skin and the calm eyes, and the dress her mother sent from Lagos. And for the first time, she wonders if she's been wrong. Ada calls Seo-jun that night. She can hear something in his voice. Tension, distance. What happened? She asks. He tells her. The fabricated evidence. His mother. The confrontation. Ada is quiet for a long moment. Your mother believed it. For a moment, not anymore. But she wanted to believe it. She wanted a reason to be right. It's not the same thing. Ada closes her eyes. She thinks about the women who have looked at her in Seoul, on the subway, in the grocery store, at Haesung. The way their eyes skim her and dismiss her before she even speaks. Will she ever accept me? I don't know, Seo-jun says, but I don't need her acceptance to marry you. The word lands in the silence. Marry. You haven't asked me, Ada says. I'm not asking tonight, but I will, when this is over. She holds the phone. She thinks about her mother's words. Stop running from the thing you're afraid to have. I'll be here, she says. The next week moves fast. Seo-jun meets with the Jong family, the third faction, smaller than the Kang or Moon operations, but strategically positioned. He offers them the port contracts the Moon family has been trying to block. In exchange, they support the Kang family in whatever comes next. The Jong patriarch agrees. The contracts are signed. Suddenly, the Mun family has lost their leverage. Cho brings the news to Seo-jun on a Wednesday morning. Mun Jae-won knows about the Jong deal. He's furious. Good. He's also pulled back. No new moves in 3 days. He's regrouping. Or he's planning something bigger. Seo-jun nods. Where's his daughter? Hai-rin? She's been quiet, no sightings, no calls traced to her. Find her. Cho finds Hai-rin on Thursday. She's at a hotel in Myeongdong, alone. She's been there for 5 days, not answering her father's calls. Cho reports this to Seo-jun. She's hiding, Cho says. The fabricated evidence didn't work. She failed again. Her father is probably finished with her. Seo-jun considers this. A dangerous woman is one thing. A desperate woman with nothing left to lose is another. Keep watching her, he says. She's going to do something. Like what? I don't know. But she's not going to disappear quietly. The wedding date is set for 6 weeks out. It's a small ceremony. 40 guests, a converted Hanok estate outside Seoul that Seo-jun chose because it's beautiful and defensible. Ada's mother and youngest sister fly in from Lagos. They arrive 3 days before the ceremony. Ada meets them at the airport and holds her mother for a long time. You look different, her mother says. Good different or bad different? Happy different? The night before the wedding, Ada sits with her mother in the Hanok guest room. The estate is quiet. The security is everywhere, but invisible. Cho has positioned men at every entrance. Ada knows they're there. She doesn't think about them. Your father would have liked this man, her mother says. Ada looks at her. Really? He would have been afraid of him. Her mother smiles. But he would have liked him. He would have seen what I see. A man who knows what he wants and doesn't apologize for it. That's not always a good thing. No. But when what he wants is my daughter's happiness, I can forgive the rest. Ada reaches for her mother's hand. Mama, thank you for telling me to come back. Her mother squeezes her hand. Thank you for listening. The wedding morning is bright and cold. Ada wakes at 6 a.m. She showers. She eats the small breakfast the estate staff brings her. She prays in Igbo, the words her mother taught her as a child. Her dress arrives at 8 a.m. Ivory and gold. The bodice embroidered with patterns her mother sent from Lagos. Igbo designs, traditional and new at once. She puts it on and looks at herself in the mirror. She looks like a bride. She looks like herself. At 9:30 a.m., her mother pins the veil in place. It's a blend, Korean structure with Nigerian gold thread woven through. A gift from Madam Kang, sent 3 days ago with a note that said only, "For the bride." Ada wasn't sure what to make of it. She's still not sure, but she wears it anyway. Her mother steps back. Her eyes are wet. "My daughter," she says. "Look at you." Ada takes her hand. "I couldn't have done this without you, Mama." "You could have, but I'm glad you didn't." At 10:15 a.m., Ada is alone in the bridal room. Her mother went to take her seat. Her sister went with her. The ceremony starts in 30 minutes. Ada stands by the table with the hairpins. She smooths her dress. She breathes. She hears something outside the door. Raised voices. Male voices responding to a female voice. Korean, fast, angry. The door handle turns. Ada watches it. The door slams hard enough to shake the hairpins on the table. She turns with her bouquet in one hand and finds a second bride already walking toward her. "Take it off. This was never meant for you." The woman says it in English, so nothing can hide in translation. Two men fill the doorway behind her. One reaches back and locks the door. The woman's veil is still pinned in place. Her lipstick is perfect. She didn't come to ruin a wedding. She came to take one. Ada knows her at once. Mun Hae-rin. They stand facing each other in the quiet room. Hae-rin takes a step closer. Her gown rustles against the wooden floor. "You think you've won," Hae-rin says. "You haven't. He'll come to his senses. When he sees me standing here instead of you, he'll realize what he's throwing away." Ada tightens her grip on the bouquet. Her heart is pounding, but her voice is steady. "I know who you are," she says. "I know what your father did to you. I know you think this is your only way out." Hae-rin's smile falters. For a moment, something real flickers in her eyes. Fear, pain. The face of a woman who's been traded like currency her entire life. "But it isn't," Ada continues, "and this room is mine." Hae-rin's face hardens again. She signals her men. "Remove her." One of them steps forward. Ada doesn't step back. And then the door opens behind Hae-rin. It's Seo-jun. He stands in the doorway. He doesn't look at Hae-rin. He looks at Ada. His eyes move over her face, her dress, her hands gripping the flowers. "Are you ready?" he asks. Ada looks at him. This man who broke an alliance, who risked a war, who chose her when it cost him everything. "I've been ready," she says. Then he turns to Hae-rin. "Your father sent me your Lagos address to threaten the woman I love." His voice is quiet, level. "I sent him back his port contracts, signed over to the Jeong family. He has nothing left to threaten me with. And neither do you." Hae-rin's face goes white. "Leave this room," Seo-jun says. "Don't come back." The two men behind Hae-rin look at each other. They look at Seo-jun. They look at the doorway behind him, where Cho is standing with two more men. They step away from Hae-rin. She stands alone in her white dress. Her hands are shaking. She looks at Seo-jun, then at Ada, then she turns and walks out. She doesn't look back. Ada watches her go. She sees a woman walking toward a future with nothing in it. A woman whose father will discard her now that she's failed. A woman who fought the only way she knew how and lost. Ada doesn't feel triumph. She feels something heavier. The ceremony space is filled with 40 guests. Ada's mother is in the front row, wearing her Igbo wrapper. Her sister is beside her, already crying. On the other side of the aisle, Madam Kang sits in traditional Korean dress. Her face is composed. When Ada walks in on Seo-jun's arm, a break from both Korean and Igbo tradition, but their own choice, Madam Kang stands. She doesn't smile, but she's standing. And when Ada passes her row, Madam Kang reaches out and adjusts a fold in Ada's veil, the same veil she sent 3 days ago. It's a small gesture. Ada's mother across the aisle sees it. She nods at Madam Kang. One mother to another. The ceremony is brief. Seo-jun's vows are 4 sentences. "I spent my whole life being the eldest son, the one who holds things together, the one who stays because no one else will. Then I met you. And I understood that staying isn't a burden when you're staying with the right person. Ada's vows are 3 sentences. I've been taking care of other people since I was 17. I forgot to ask if anyone would take care of me. You didn't wait to be asked. You just did it. You chose me when it cost you everything. I choose you because you made me believe I was worth it. The officiant pronounces them married. Seo-jun kisses Ada, and she grabs his lapel and holds on and does not let go. After the ceremony, during the small reception, Cho approaches Ada. He's holding an envelope. "This came for you," he says. "Hyrin left it with me this morning. Before everything, she asked me to give it to the bride, only if the wedding went through." Ada takes the envelope. She opens it. Inside is a handwritten letter. "You won. I don't know what that means for me, but I saw the way he looked at you at the Haesung building 8 months ago, before any of this started. He never looked at me like that. Not once. I think I always knew. I'm sorry for what I did to you. I'm not sorry for fighting. It was all I had." Ada reads it twice. Then she folds it and puts it in her dress pocket. She doesn't show Seo-jun. This is between women. This is the kind of understanding that comes from recognizing a wound you didn't inflict. Across the reception, Ada's mother and Madam Kang are sitting together. They don't speak the same language, but someone has put food between them. They're sharing a plate. Madam Kang points to the jollof rice. Ada's mother nods and gestures for her to try it. Madam Kang takes a bite. Her eyebrows rise. Ada's mother laughs. Ada watches them. She puts her hand on Seo-jun's arm. He covers her hand with his. They don't say anything. There's nothing left to prove. The music starts. People begin to talk and laugh. The afternoon light comes through the Hanok windows, warm and gold. Ada looks at Seo-jun. He looks at her. "Are you happy?" he asks. She thinks about the question. She thinks about everything that brought her here. The lab, the dark street, the chin-chin without a note, the fabricated evidence, the woman in the white dress who walked out alone. "Yes," she says, "I'm happy." He pulls her closer. And for the first time in her life, Ada lets herself be held without wondering when she'll have to stand alone again. If you've made it this far, you've watched a woman walk into her own wedding and claim her place. Not because a powerful man handed it to her, but because she earned his devotion through who she is, and he earned hers by choosing her when it cost him everything. Thank you for being here. If this story meant something to you, I'll see you in the next one.